So dear friends, we are at the close of the month of November, and 26th of November is a big feast for us, the feast of Christ the King. Let me begin with that, because that is the message of the week this time, that we are a kingly people. You know, there are certain countries that celebrate the King's Day, the Queen's Day. It's almost a holiday for the whole country, and they rejoice in their king, in their queen. That's the type. I think for the church it's a King's Day, the Christ the King feast. 26th of November this year, surely it's a Sunday. What's special about it? Rather, what's special about Christ the King? Christ is our King. There's no doubt about it. But then the way he is depicted as a king is very different from our attitudes, from our knowledge, from our experience, even perhaps our celebrations of the kingly feast. First of all, that's the last Sunday of the year. The liturgical year ends with the feast of Christ the King, and then we begin the advent of the child king, the Prince of Peace, Jesus himself. And so this Sunday is the church rather gathers everything and keeps it in front of Christ our King to say that the heavens and the earth, the rich and the poor, our joys and sorrows are with you, our King. I would just sort of split a little what the king and kingship means. You know, when I say Christ the King, I have to speak about the shepherd, the good shepherd. It's shifting from one base to another base, and from the shepherd, I go to the flock, I go to the poor. The poor. That's the transition that we can make of this kingly idea. The feast of Christ the King, as I said, embraces the whole reality, the whole universe. So first of all, we say, what is kingly about Jesus? Because the moment we say about a king or queen, we cannot but think of the finery, the gold ornaments, the rich, perhaps the furniture, the palace, the regal atmosphere, the darbar. In our language, you call it darbar. And the king is inaccessible. The king is unapproachable. At the most, you could meet one of his ministers, one of his small servants. You can never expect to meet the king. That's the idea of the world of a king. And what does Christ the King give us an impression of a king? He is a king not with armies. He is not a king with guns and perhaps soldiers, legions of soldiers. Rather, he is a king who doesn't become by force, by army, by violence, but is a king of hearts. His victories over sin and death. The most frightful things, everyone's scared of death. And therefore he is king over the death, he is king over the evil powers, the sin. And how does he do it? Once again, it's not big battles, atom bombs that he uses, but his own sacrifice, his death on the cross. He humbles himself. He humbles himself to such an extent there's nothing left about him. And that is why the St. Paul's letter to the Philippians chapter 2 says, that is why God has exalted him above everything else, because he emptied himself. So that's the first idea of the king that we can get. Secondly, in the first reading today, the other idea of a king, that is a shepherd, a good shepherd. Just as a shepherd bows down, rather he cries, he embraces the little lamb perhaps that is wounded, that is crying, and he takes it to his own shoulders. You know, the lamb must be feeling royal itself to be carried by the shepherd. But that's the idea of our king, that he goes down to reach out to everyone who is in need. And as the flock, we follow him. He's ready to die for us. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. He puts himself into danger. He puts himself in our situation of joys and our sorrows. So that's the kingly, perhaps, image that we can give of a shepherd. Now, thirdly, what does he expect his people to be, his subjects to be? We can't. Most of the kings are so high, so rich, so inaccessible that his people become servants, slaves, abject subjects that perhaps have no value at all. But our King gives us the highest value, considers each one of us special. But at the same time, he doesn't say that I am king so that anything can be done, anyone can come, anything is allowed here. No, not necessarily. Our king makes a distinction between what we call the good and the bad. Those who are not of this world, or rather those who are clinging to the power and authority, and the king who identifies himself with the marginalized. We have a beautiful gospel today. Gospel of Matthew, almost one of the last chapters of 24, 25, they speak of what we call the last judgment. The last judgment. And in this judgment, those who are going to be judged are judged according to their works, according to their attitude, according to their behavior, and therefore the good and the bad. The good sheep, the sheep on one side and the goats on the other. And he tells the ones who are on the good side, I have recognized every good that you have done. I have recognized that you have given food to the poor, the drink to the thirsty, clothes to those who are perhaps naked. You have visited them in the prison, and therefore come and enjoy. And surely the good ones will be surprised and say, when did we ever meet you? When did we ever visit you? When did we ever give you food or drink? And as long as you did to the least of my brethren, you did it to me. So also for the evil ones, you never gave me food, you never recognized me, you never visited me. And so they also will be shocked to say that if you had told us when you are coming, you had announced you are coming with some trumpets and some invitations, we would have surely come forward and recognized you. Jesus says, not necessary. As long as you did not do it to the least of my brethren, you never did it to me. And that's going to be sort of identification of Jesus with his subjects, identification with the poor. Mother Teresa beautifully used to say, she was really saintly, and she says that I see Jesus in every wounded person. I see Jesus in every sick bed. I see Jesus in everyone who is perhaps left and marginalized. I see Jesus in the lepers. That's how she recognized Jesus, and that is perhaps the kingly heart, what we call the King of Hearts would attract us to be. So my dear friends, our last judgment wherein we are going to be the King is going to be according to what you have been here, not what you wish to be, not what you dreamed to be, but what you have really done. So therefore, on the feast of Christ the King, Christ reminds us that I will recognize you, or perhaps I will not recognize you by the good deeds that you do. So let us bow ourselves in front of Christ the King, remembering that he is not the kingship of the world, his kingship of a different nature. His kingship is of identifying and getting close to the poor, the poorest. I know it's easy for me to say that, but very difficult to do it. But we ask God for this grace to recognize in each one of us, in every one of us, the figure of Jesus, Christ the King. I now take you to another celebration on the Feast of Christ the King, what we call the inauguration of the Ordinary Jubilee 2025. I have spoken of this Jubilee in my past appearances here, and I have said that how Holy Father requests us to prepare for this Jubilee 2025 It means almost 2025 years after the birth of Jesus, after the event of redemption or salvation. And so the Holy Father has given us a 3-year sort of plan for 3 years. The first year being the year of learning, the year is 2023. The second year, 2024, is the year of praying. And the final year, the year of hope, or the year of the Jubilee itself. So the Holy Father, Pope Francis himself, will inaugurate this Jubilee event, though another 1.5 years are there. He requests us also to inaugurate it so that we are aware of it. The big events, we prepare for them long. We say the parliamentary elections are still far away, but let us be ready for it. What about Olympics? There are people who are preparing it from like 4 years. The next Olympics, they have already sort of started training themselves, and the organizers have started building the stadiums and the others. How much more should we prepare ourselves for this Jubilee? And therefore the Holy Father is inaugurating this Jubilee event at St. Peter's in Rome on 26th of November, the Feast of Christ the King. So also in our Archdiocese, we have already begun the year of learning with the study of the documents. We have also looked forward to the year of praying next year, perhaps special prayers, special novenas, special themes, maybe even small pilgrimages in our Archdiocese, the year of praying. And surely we look forward to the year of the Jubilee, the year of hope in 2025. And for that, as it is being inaugurated in Rome on 26th of November, that's the Feast of the Christ the King, we will also inaugurate in our cathedral, St. Francis Xavier Cathedral, at the 5 o'clock Mass in the evening, which will begin with a small rosary, and we will have the Eucharist, solemn Eucharist, inaugurating the Jubilee in our Archdiocese. I welcome all of you for this celebration, and surely let us make a Jubilee event not just another perhaps a celebration, but more a spiritual joy, a spiritual event that we can create in our Archdiocese. 26th of November seems to be another important day, not just for our church, not just for the whole world, but also for India, because it is called the Constitution Day. They are already speaking of Constitution Habba. Habba means feast. Just as we celebrate Deepavali, we celebrate Christmas, we are celebrating the other national days. So why not celebrate the day of the Constitution as a day of the feast of the Constitution? As you know that historically, 26th of November 1949, Dr. Ambedkar presented the draft of the Constitution that was prepared to the Constituent Assembly at that time, and they were very happy about it. And within about 2 months, this draft was promulgated as the Constitution of India on the 26th of January 1950. So naturally, this Constitution, which is a sacred document for our country, which is considered as the sort of the most important Magna Carta of our nation, is to be celebrated. As of course, more than celebration, it has to be kept up word to word without changing any words. There are some people who are trying to change some words to say that perhaps those people who formed the Constitution, who drafted the Constitution, did not have that sense of including this or excluding that. Not necessary. Though amendments are possible in the Constitution, we say as far as possible the basic structure has to be kept up. And the preamble itself gives a beautiful picture of the whole Constitution that we have to celebrate. And therefore, I have also suggested that in our schools, in our colleges, the Constitution has to be studied, has to be taught, and we've also brought up certain textbooks which we can use in our different institutions according to the standard of the children, maybe from the 5th standard onwards, a small textbook with a few lessons to teach about the important tenets of the Constitution. But let us remember and let us pray for our country very especially. We are in for the new elections, new government, that the governments that come, governments that are there now, or perhaps governments that come in future, may not touch or may not change the constitution, retain the essential fabric of the constitution. Let us pray in a very special way on this day, 26th of November, in all our churches. I take you to another beautiful experience of last Sunday, the Sunday that we celebrated. Of course, many churches had their Mission Sunday fests and this one. And there was a special event that day. All our children, the altar service, marched to St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary, Malleshwaram. And you know how many children were there? 820 altar servers were there. And the St. Peter's staff, the rector staff, and the seminarians welcomed them. It was a riot of feast, different colors of the vestments that the children were wearing. They were beautiful. Some of them really looked like small angels, the boys and the girls. In their innocence, they looked like angels. And therefore, St. Peter's had a whole day program for them with some input sessions on how to serve the altar. What are the rubrics that we follow? What are the different articles that we use? For example, the pattern that covers the chalice, perhaps the altar cloth, the candles, the thurible. All these things were explained to the children in the morning section. And in the evening, they had fun and frolic. They had matches, friendly football matches. They had the other cricket matches, and also a little of vocation promotion in the diocese, because I always believe that the Altar Servers Association is the KG class or the kindergarten for vocations. The vocations begin from there. And the children at that age, when they see the altar, when they are so close to the altar, and the silence that they maintain, the prayer that Jesus beats in their heart, it's a very special moment. And altar servers, whether it's for boys or girls, I think you can't substitute that with anything else that can bring them closer to God. And therefore, I believe that the Altar Servers Association is a nursery for vocations. And therefore, in the afternoon session on last Sunday, we had on the 19th of this month, we had this altar service wherein many of our congregations of fathers and sisters also addressed them. And we also asked the children that those who are thinking or contemplating of becoming priests, sisters, we also have taken down certain names, and certain children have volunteered also. Perhaps they will persevere. And in this sense, I must say that Altar Servers Day at St. Peter's was a great experience. I was there for a mass and I could see children sitting almost under the altar because the church was so full at the sides, at the here, but pin drop silence. There's something about our children we have to remark. They know when to laugh, they know when to talk, they know when to play, and they know when to keep silence. I was so surprised they were so silently listening in the church, behaving well. Surely they have come out for a picnic atmosphere, but they were well behaved. And that's what the professors, the rector of St. Peter's told me, that they were so happy to have our children there. Thank you very much, dear fathers who sent your children. Thank you very much also the parents. Many of the parents also came there. They were so happy to see the grounds, the St. Peter's imposing buildings, etc. We have much to be proud of, much to be happy about our children, the altar service. I now take you to what we call the Catholic Association of the Archdiocese of Bangalore. We have many associations in the diocese. We have the Legion of Mary, we have the Catholic, we have the Vincent de Paul, we have the altar servers, we have the youth, and so many associations are there. So many movements are there, the charismatic movement, the focolare movement. I now speak very specially to you about what's called the Catholic Association of the Archdiocese of Bangalore. It's nothing new about it. It was there earlier, but then we would like to revive it in a strong way. The Catholic Association of the Archdiocese of Bangalore represents the laity in a very special way in every parish, so that the laity can serve others, can involve themselves and prepare to be leaders. There are three important things that we expect from them. First of all, to be members of the Catholic Association in every parish. I request the parish priest to make an effort to bring the laity together, men and women, in the service of the church. So the second one is what we call the service of the church. This service is not rendered not just inside. Surely everyone can help out in the church, everyone can are members of the church, but this is a particular association that prepares the people to serve the people outside. For example, what do I mean? Perhaps prepare the Aadhaar card, widow pension. The government gives so many privileges and perhaps subsidies that can be collected. These things cannot be done by the parish priest because they are busy with the family record book, with the sacraments, with this one. They can't even go out. Not necessary. I mean, our people should do that. And so forth, the Catholic Association members of each parish can do these things. It's not their job to interfere in the internal matters of the church. Sometimes this also creates a tension that some parish priests say that most of the time they want to discuss about where the feast can be done or where the statue can be done or perhaps this, but it's not. The Catholic Association should bother of something that goes outside of the church, which the priests themselves cannot do. For example, as I said, the voter ID card, the election, the Aadhaar card, or perhaps the subsidies that can be brought, etc., which the people can do. Thirdly, it's a association that prepares leaders. Leaders, we need a lot of leaders. Very often we find that complaint being made that the Christians are poor leaders. There is no leadership among the Christian laity. It's mostly the bishop, the priest have to go in cassock or processions. Only then the people sort of think it is a Christian procession. Look at the other communities. They have no priest who lead them. There are no bishops the bishop-like leaders who will take them. They themselves go ahead. They themselves form movements. I'm told there is a farmers' movement now it's coming up. All the farmers come together. We are the ones who are producing. So therefore, we should be given these rights, these privileges, they say. So therefore, to prepare the leaders in the church, the Catholic Association plays a great role. When they are given leadership roles at the lower level, slowly they can rise up. And one of the things also, I would be very happy if the Catholic Association takes it upon himself to identify potential leaders who could be now elected at our panchayat level, at our ward level, at our corporation level, and someday perhaps on the what we call the MLA, MLCs, or the state level. Sometimes it's little irritating to see that suddenly candidates come from nowhere and say, I am a candidate for MLA, I am a candidate for MLC. I say that, you don't jump from the Bangalore MG Road to the Olympic Stadium in Paris. There's a long way to go. So therefore, first of all, you have to play the local, perhaps participate in the local elections. Then only you can think of higher elections and this one. So these are the three things that Catholic Association members can do. First of all, I said to identify the people and be at the service of the church outside. Secondly, serve the people much better in a bigger way. Go to their houses, find out what's their poverty, what the government can do for them, what the society can do for them. And thirdly, preparing remotely for leadership. I request our parish priests to make announcement and to gather the laity people so that they can form this, what we call the Catholic Association of Archdiocese of Bangalore units in every parish. Fortunately, we have a good spiritual advisor. He is Father Amarnath Roy, who is the Dean of the Cathedral Deanery, resides in the Cathedral campus, and he has taken over charge from Father Sebastian Arukia Swami, who was till now, and he has initiated the Catholic Association, formed the diocesan level body, and at the same time formed also some units. Father Amarnath will surely help you and support you, fathers, to start this new unit, and also he can be contacted, he can be consulted for many of the laity needs, especially of the Catholic Association of Bangalore. I expect by the end of this year, at least, not end of next year, at least 50 more units to be made so that the parishes are thriving and throbbing units of the laity, which replicated on the diocesan level, archdiocesan level, would become a very strong body of the laity, the Catholic laity in the Archdiocese of Bangalore. Friends, we are closing this year, what I call the liturgical year. The 34th Sunday, as I said, is a Sunday of Christ the King, wherein the Church covers everything or envelopes everything and places at the foot of Christ the King. With this, we end this liturgical year, and the next liturgical season that begins is the season of Advent. We are waiting for the Lord. We are waiting for Christmas. It is a remote preparation also for our life, that we are waiting for the Lord in our life, not just at this Christmas. Jesus cannot be born again and again. He was born once, but historically we remember this event and have the celebrations. And it has been a very fruitful liturgical year for you also and for me. As you know, I have been also trying to reach out to you in these not only liturgical moments, but all the important moments of the Archdiocese in different ways. And this has been a good experience to me. I wish all of you, as we close this liturgical year and begin the Advent season, a very happy season of Advent, a season of Christmas that is dawning upon us, so that all of us are part of this joyful event. I wish you well. God bless you.
The Shepherd's Voice, which is being presented by our beloved Archbishop, Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, the Archbishop of Bangalore, who takes so much of interest and concern in order to bring the various topics, the contextual aspects, in order to inform, educate, and catechize all of us, the priests, the religious and faithful of this vast archdiocese. And I'm sure you are enjoying this program, Shepherd's Voice, and I request each one of you to share with your other colleagues, friends, and family and relatives, near and dear ones, so that everyone in this archdiocese can be more closer to listen to the Archbishop on this Shepherd's Voice, the weekly feature. My dear friends, as I've always told, that this is a wonderful platform wherein we can connect to the Shepherd of this Archdiocese, wherein he brings in the interesting topics in order to increase our devotion and love towards God, and also to know the spiritual matters that concerns our faith. In a very special way, you are most welcome to ask your questions, queries, and you can send them to us at archdblr@gmail.com, and you will also see our mobile number in and through which you can connect with our media center, Ave Studios, and the Archdiocesan Communication Center. Please do write to us your feedback, your opinions. Thank you. Continue to watch and continue to share with others.